Good evening, one and all. Welcome to the Silk Speaker Series at the University of San Francisco. Kindly take your seats so we can begin tonight's program. Now, in his 6th year as president, it is my pleasure to welcome to the podium the 28th president of the University of San Francisco, our very own rock star, the Reverend Paul J. Fitzgerald of the Society of Jesus.
Thank you all very much for being here this evening. It's great to see a full house here in the house that Bill Russell built. We have a terrific program for you this evening, another edition of the Silk Speaker Series. This series is made possible by a very generous level of support from our benefactors, Naomi and Jeff Silk. Jeff and Naomi's Jewish tradition of tzedakah, which translates as righteousness and often involves charitable giving, is an important part of their life. In 2016, they demonstrated their great support of our mission here at USF by a transformational gift, which has allowed us to have these amazing speakers come to campus. The Silk Speaker Series provides a very enriching set of thought leaders from business, technology, entertainment, and athletics, the sports world. To date, we have welcomed Janet Yellen, Steve Kerr, Magic Johnson, Condoleezza Rice, Steve Wozniak, Billie Jean King, and several Nobel laureates in economics. And as a matter of fact, recently we have split the series into two, and so we have now the Silk Lectures featuring Nobel laureates, and that's a little bit more high-pitched academic, and you're all invited. And then we continue this great tradition of having thought leaders come and talk to our community. I'm very grateful that we have this opportunity to showcase the accomplishments of individuals that bring our university community together. Students, staff, faculty, alumni, neighbors, and friends can come back to campus and really have a very, very enriching evening. Tonight, you're going to get a special caffeine buzz. Jeff and Naomi, then Naomi Berkowitz, met at Aragon High School down in San Mateo just a few years ago. Been married a bit more than 25 years. Together, they have raised 3 lovely children. Their eldest son, Ashton, finished his undergraduate work here, is a graduate student in sports management. Their second, Harris, is at Indiana University, and Abigail, their youngest, they've just dropped off at the University of Miami. Jeff is a USF alumnus and a trustee. As a student, Jeff convinced the editors of the Foghorn that they should run his weekly column called Silk's Purse, where he gave his fellow students financial advice. Please join me in thanking Jeff and Naomi for this wonderful series. Please, if you could just... And now, please allow me to welcome back to campus and introduce tonight's MC, Michael Johnson. And yes, they have the same last name, so you'll figure out why in just a moment. Michael was an undergraduate student here at USF from 2006 until 2010. He is passionate about sustainability and aquatic and atmospheric chemistry. And he chose USF specifically because of our outstanding environmental science program faculty. He could have gone elsewhere on a golf scholarship, but he wisely chose USF instead. Like many of our students, he went on to earn a master's degree in sustainable management from New England College. He is a sustainability coordinator. He is a sustainability professional and stewardship advisor. For the last 10 years has been working with Microsoft, Optiva, and other startups and nonprofits. A current project he has underway is a solar farm built on an island off the shore from Seattle for the cooperative of the folks who live on that island. Michael is an ambassador with Youth East Side Services, which provides counseling, substance abuse treatment, education and prevention, and psychiatric services in East King County, Washington. He is the father of a 5-year-old son, Camden, who himself is the inspiration for the 50-year plan of sustainability at Starbucks, known as the Lorax Project. The Dr. Seuss fans know the reference. Like other members of his family, education is a #1 priority for Michael. He is chair of the board of his son Camden's Waldorf School. We are very proud to have our alumnus, Michael Johnson, as an exemplary product of Jesuit education here on the Hilltop. So please join me in welcoming USF alum Michael Johnson to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. It's perfect. Thank you, Father Fitzgerald. It's wonderful to be back at my alma mater tonight, and it's been really fun this afternoon to just get the energy back from this campus. It brings me right back to so many fond memories that I have here. Tonight, I'm thrilled to serve as the MC for this event, so thanks for having me. And let me begin by welcoming everybody from around the world on Facebook's USF live stream. Appreciate that. And let me take a moment to welcome the 100 Starbucks partners here in the audience tonight. Would you please stand for a moment of recognition? Here's what tonight's program looks like. So I'll take a moment to introduce our moderator and tonight's guest, my dad. Before the conclusion of the conversation, we will have 4 video clips from a select group of the audience members, so thank you for your contributions. Followed up by Father Fitzgerald will return to the podium for some closing remarks. And when he finishes up, I will return and announce several randomly selected winners of tickets to the Don's takeover of the Chase Center on Saturday, November 9th. So stay tuned, you could be the winner. Hold tight because it's going to be exciting, and I'm really thankful that you're all here. So, now to the program. Let's get this started. In the words of my 5-year-old son, let's do this. Tonight's moderator is Dr. Sonia Martin Poole, an accomplished and internationally recognized lecturer and researcher on transformative and multicultural marketing education and strategy. Here at USF, she is the president of the Faculty Association, and as a professor in the School of Management, she developed a course called Marketing for Social Change, and often uses Starbucks as an example of a company that is intentional about its reputation as a socially responsible and conscious brand. She also integrates Starbucks marketing strategies into her classes to illustrate marketing done right. As a researcher, she analyzes diversity initiatives in the marketplace using critical theory. And in her latest research, she is analyzing marketplace stories that are posted to Facebook. So what you most certainly do not know about our moderator tonight is her Starbucks order. Not surprisingly, it's a very precise one. A tall chai latte with almond milk, and how many pumps of chai? 6 pumps of chai. So Dr. Poole's other office is the Starbucks in the Montclair neighborhood of Oakland, and she hails from New Orleans, where the aroma of a nearby coffee mill, close to her family's home, led to a lifelong, shall we say, potentially disinterest in coffee. So please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Sonia Martin Poole. Dr. Poole, if you may, just for a moment, I wish to indulge as the right of the MC for tonight's evening. I want to exercise the license to simply shout out one very special person who's here in the audience, my mother, June. Can you raise your hand? Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me and our family. It's nice to have you. Now on to someone I call Dad, and tonight's guest of honor. Starbucks has been a part of our family's life since 2009. You think about it, that's 10 years ago. And my father joined the company to serve on the board of directors in 2009, leading to, in 2015, taking on the role of president and chief operating officer, leading to 2017 as Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks Coffee Company, transitioned to the role of executive chairman. My father then became the chief executive and president of Starbucks. So over the span of 30-year career, my entire life, he's renowned for scaling global business. And that includes 16 years at Microsoft and 5 years of CEO work at Juniper Networks, close to here. And he's committed to making a meaningful difference in the communities around the world where Starbucks does business. And in our hometown, in our community, just outside of Seattle, he continues to be extremely generous and supportive of the community with his time and his resources, and specifically with organizations, an organization, one of which specifically, Empower. Empower is an organization that provides nonprofits with access to technology to fulfill their social mission. Sounds pretty in tune with what we do right here at USF. To Catalyst, a nonprofit that focuses on expanding opportunities for women in business. And to finally, Youth Eastside Services. It's also very fond to me. Youth Eastside Services, YES, is one of the largest providers of youth and family counseling in the Seattle area. And so what inspires me so much more about my father, beyond his work and his brain and his intellect, is his passion for the love and support of our family. So let's turn our attention now to the large screens for a short video called Starbucks Believers.
Starbucks say they have finalized their $7 billion licensing deal.
Starbucks has achieved 100% pay equity for men and women.
Starbucks has struck a partnership with Chinese tech giant Alibaba.
Learned a lot as we launched Starbucks Delivers in China.
A lot of people talk about supporting the troops. Starbucks is actually doing it.
Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson joins us from Philadelphia.
What happened was wrong, and we will fix it.
Starbucks stores all around the country locked their doors, so 175,000 employees could begin anti-bias training.
Starbucks will open its first location in Italy tomorrow.
Starbucks is about to open its biggest roastery in Tokyo.
Starbucks launching its own Visa credit card.
Starbucks joins a growing list saying no to plastic single-use straws.
All of the employees at the new location are fluent in sign language.
Starbucks has launched a new program.
And hey, maybe they've got some good corn.
Starbucks Summer Drink.
Starbucks making an all-time high today.
Before, I never thought I could finish college, but now I believe I can do anything.
I'm 17 years old, and I'm now a part owner of a company thanks to Beanstalk. I never imagined something like that would be possible.
I believe we can all give back.
I believe coffee can be sustainable. The first sustainable agricultural product.
I believe in working for a company that supports pay equity for everyone.
Starbucks is a different kind of place. It's the baristas, it's the experience, it's everyone.
I believe that Starbucks is taking a stand for trans people. They're saying that our procedures aren't just cosmetic, they're life-saving. So I can be who I truly am.
For me, it's all about the good that Starbucks does around the world. For coffee and for people.
I believe it's our customers.
And I believe that I probably couldn't survive without coffee. Seriously.
I believe this is the kind of company I always wanted to work for.
Well, Philadelphia. That was hard. I never thought that would happen here. But what we did next, closing stores, bringing partners together, learning, reflecting, I believe that is amazing.
I believe I can still have my career and move when my husband has to.
I believe I can work part-time, have full benefits, and still be a mom.
I believe when you walk down the street with a Starbucks cup, it means something.
I'm a DACA recipient and a partner. I believe Starbucks stands with me. They understand this is my home, I belong here, and they're fighting for me.
Serving in the military, there's a strong sense of belonging and commitment. Starbucks is as close to that as you can get.
I believe Starbucks opened up a world of opportunity for me.
I can choose where to spend my money, and I choose to spend it at Starbucks.
I believe by extending the healthcare insurance to the parents of our partners in China, we are taking care of the people who mean the most to them.
I believe just because I talked to a customer, we were able to save his life. He needed a kidney and we helped him find a match. My husband.
I believe everything we have done before is making it possible to do everything we want to do now.
I believe in the 380,000 Starbucks partners who proudly wear the green apron. And I believe that the pursuit of profit is not in conflict with the pursuit of doing good. And I believe that together, we are building an enduring company.
I believe.
I believe.
I believe.
I believe.
我相信.
I believe.
I believe.
Yo creo.
I believe.
I believe.
I believe. I believe.
I believe now would be a good time to join me in welcoming to the stage President and CEO of Starbucks Coffee Corporation, Kevin Johnson.
Thank you. Wow. Okay.
Well, good evening.
Yeah, how you doing?
Thanks for hosting me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to USF. We're so happy to have you here. So this is the birthplace of Starbucks. Who knew, right? The birthplace. So what do you know about the original founders, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, Gordon Bowker, who had met as students while at USF?
Well, I know that they had a love and a passion for coffee, and that came together in 1971 when Starbucks was founded in Seattle, Washington. And you look at what's happened over the last 49 years. Starbucks has evolved to become one of the world's most admired and trusted brands. We now have 31,000 stores in 81 markets around the world, and I have the privilege of serving over 400,000 Starbucks partners who proudly wear the green apron. They, in turn, welcome over 100 million customers into our stores every week. It's quite phenomenal.
That is phenomenal. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. So let's get to young Kevin Johnson. We want to know about him. Okay, is that okay?
That's fine.
All right. So this audience is filled with students. So I want you to tell us about your life while you were in college. How did you know you wanted to get into business?
Well, I guess first of all, I grew up in a small town in northern New Mexico, in Los Alamos, New Mexico. My father is a theoretical physicist, my mother is a nurse. So I had this wonderful mix of, certainly my father's intellectual curiosity and my mother's compassion and empathy for the human experience. Growing up, I was enamored with the moonshot. I was born in 1960, about 3 months before President Kennedy gave his famous speech where he declared a bold mission that united our nation. And so for me, I followed the Mercury, the Apollo missions, and everything about spaceflight. And I remember that warm summer evening in July 1969 as an 8-year-old, sitting on the floor of our home with my sister, my brother, my mother and father, watching a black and white television as Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon and spoke those famous words. As I listened to that, I got up and I walked into our backyard. It was a warm summer evening, and I looked up in the sky and the stars were beautiful, and I laid on the cool grass looking at the moon, thinking to myself, there are people on the moon, wondering what adventure, what mission, what bold aspiration will my life take me to that has the same kind of impact as a giant leap for mankind. So that was one part of it. Now, certainly, as I went to undergraduate school, I told my father that I wanted to study business. For a physicist, that was not very inspiring for him. And fortunately, he gave me some great coaching. He said, hey, there's a degree here in the business college that's kind of computer science and focused on software development. And so I fell in love with writing computer software. And I also fell in love with a young woman, June, who would become my wife. And so those were two gifts that came into my life when I was in undergraduate school.
Your wife tell you to go in business?
No, well, my wife actually, she went to be a nurse, and so I'm fortunate that I have another woman in my life who's full of compassion and empathy for others.
That's wonderful. Wow. So your predecessor, Howard Schultz, he's legendary. He defined Starbucks, right? 2 years ago, he passes the baton to you. How are you managing that transition?
Well, I'll share, a little story of why I am here and what it felt like that day we announced that Howard was transitioning the responsibility of CEO to me. I spent 32 years in the tech industry. I had a wonderful adventure and a life journey in tech, 16 years at Microsoft, being a part of building Microsoft on the senior leadership team, 5 years at CEO of Juniper Networks, and Howard invited me to join the Starbucks board in 2009. And it was actually about 7 years ago that I was CEO of Juniper Networks, and I was diagnosed with melanoma. An annual checkup, and now all of a sudden there's melanoma, 3 surgeries on my left arm to get margins, and the doctor explains to me the next challenge is to understand if cancer cells got into your bloodstream, is it in your lymph nodes, has it gone further in your body? So I'm trying to continue to do my job as the CEO of Juniper Networks and focus on my health issues. And one day I found myself in the San Francisco International Airport about to board a United flight to Europe for business. And I had just called and canceled my doctor's appointments for the week. And as I sat there in the boarding lounge, I thought to myself, why, through my actions, am I prioritizing a business trip to Europe over everything that matters? My health, my life, my family, friends, loved ones. And so I decided at that moment that for the rest of my life, no matter how long or short it may be, that I will only do things that are joyful with people I love. It's a very liberating perspective. I let the Juniper board know that I'd be retiring, give them time to hire another CEO. And so I retired with no intention of ever going back into an operating role. My wife and I, we moved back into our home in Seattle, focused on my health. I spent more time with Michael and his brother Christopher, who were young men, wishing that I had spent more time with them when they were young boys. June and I spent the summer with friends in Greece, swimming in the sea, eating good food, enjoying friendships. And so for me, that was a defining part of my life. And so it was over a year later when Howard called me one day and asked me to come to lunch. And I've known Howard for a long time, been on the board. Going to lunch was nothing out of the ordinary, but on this particular occasion, it was. He asked how my health was, and then he explained that he would like to invite me to come be a Starbucks partner and be his partner in leading the company. And that's what brought me into the role of Chief Operating Officer. And as I struggled with that decision, it was at dinner one evening with June, she said to me, she said, I know you're having this conversation with Howard and thinking through this opportunity. She said, First of all, you love Starbucks. You love Howard. It brings you joy. She said, if this would be fun, you should consider it. If it's not fun, don't. But whatever you decide, don't look back 10 years from now and say, I wish I would have. And I called Howard the next morning. Now, that was in 2015. Roll forward about 2 years, 18 months or so. And the night before we announced that Howard would be stepping down as CEO and I would succeed him, we closed the Pike Place store in Seattle, Washington, the very first Starbucks. We closed it early that evening at 6 p.m. And Howard, myself, and our leadership team went to that store. Now that store is 900 square feet. There are no tables and chairs, and it has a hard wooden floor that has been walked on by millions and millions and millions of customers and our Starbucks partners over 49 years. We sat as a leadership team on that hard wood floor, and we shared stories. Howard shared stories of the first time he walked into that store and what that store meant to Starbucks. We all shared stories about what Starbucks meant to us. And at one moment in the storytelling, Howard stood up. He reached into his pocket and he pulled out a key. He said, Kevin, this is my personal key to the Pike Place store. I've had this key for decades. Tonight, I am presenting you with this key as a symbol of this transition. Now that key is a very special key to me because that key is a symbol of my responsibility. My responsibility to the 400,000 Starbucks partners. Many of them are here, or some of them are here tonight, not many of 400,000, but some of you are here tonight, who proudly wear the green apron. And my responsibility is to have the wisdom to know what to honor and preserve from the past, and the courage to boldly reinvent the future. And so here we are, a 49-year-old company that has just gone through one of the most significant transitions that any company goes through. You know, with Howard as the founder of the modern-day Starbucks, with the cafes and the third place experience, we've gone from founder-led to founder-inspired. And as we look to our 50th anniversary within the next year and a half, 50th anniversary of the company, we have our eye on the 100th anniversary. I dream of celebrating the centennial anniversary of Starbucks, knowing that I won't be there. Unless 3 shots of espresso will allow you to live to 111 years, I won't be there.
I'm sure you're working on that, right?
I am working on that. Okay. But I know this. I know that our 2 grandsons, Camden and young Henry, they will be. And so for all of my Starbucks partners, we're on a journey. We're on a journey to build an enduring company that's going to stay true to our mission and to our values, while at the same time boldly reinvent our future. And so that's the journey that brought me to Starbucks, and that's what Starbucks means to me personally.
I have a follow-up question to that. Where's the key?
The key is in a very safe place.
You're not going to share where
well,
the key is?
I keep that key in my office, at my desk, and I do carry it with me occasionally. In fact, we just hosted 3 or 4 weeks ago 12,000 Starbucks store managers for leadership experience in Chicago. And part of what I shared with them is that key and what that means to me. So that is a very special key to me, and I keep that locked up in a nice place on my desk, and I do carry it with me many places I go. Today, it's locked up in my desk.
Okay. I wanted the key. Okay. All right. So it sounds like, before Starbucks, you were sort of living a very balanced life. So how was that changed, right, since you've been the CEO of Starbucks?
Well, you know, one of the things that I've learned as I've gone on my life journey is, you know, I haven't always been as balanced. I haven't always prioritized the right thing. You know, here I am in the San Francisco International Airport about to fly to Europe and canceling doctor's appointments at a time where my health should be the priority. And there have been times where, through my actions, I've prioritized some of my professional responsibilities over personal responsibilities that I should have made a different decision. And I'm not proud of those decisions, but I would say that, you know, in this role, in this experience, I'm doing exactly what I committed to do. I'm doing something that is joyful with people I love. And my life is actually much more in balance today than it has been in the last 35 years of my life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I kind of know what that feels like. I myself have 2 sons. They're teenagers now. And my husband and I, we find it very difficult to manage that balance. But people told us a long time ago, those years go by so fast. So enjoy them.
They grow fast, so
yeah.
you better enjoy them when they can. And it does take a partnership. And, you know, my wife June is, you know, we've been partners every step of the way, and we've figured out how to support one another and help one another. And I think she's a big part of what has enabled me to have the journey that I've been able to have, and to share that with her and our sons and our family.
Yeah, but I can't imagine. I mean, you're running a $1 billion business. What's that like?
Well, you know, actually, system sales are 35 billion, but a billion would be okay. Well, you know, I'll tell you, we open a new Starbucks store on average every 4 hours, somewhere in the world. Every 4 hours, a new Starbucks store. We're in over 31,000 stores. A new Starbucks store opens on average every 4 hours somewhere in the world. You know, we're now over 400,000 Starbucks partners, serving over 100 million customers a week. So something happens every day. But I'm very fortunate. We have a world-class leadership team. We have a world-class board. We've worked very hard to be very clear about our aspiration and the vision for where we're taking the company. And we have a talented team that is making it happen. And I believe in a team. And that's what is our leadership team we've worked hard to create. And a team is based on trust, transparency, and teamwork. And because of that, we are able to do, you know, far more than I think we would be able to do as just individuals if we weren't working together as a team. I believe in distributed leadership. I believe in creating opportunities where people are empowered, and empowerment and accountability are 2 sides of the same coin. But if you empower them, if you unite the organization emotionally behind a common mission, you're clear on the strategy, and you empower people, wonderful things will happen. And that's been my experience in many parts of my life, and that's exactly what we are working to do today at Starbucks.
So how do you empower them? What are some ways that you empower your employees to cultivate leadership?
Well, look, I believe every partner at Starbucks is a leader. I mean, you know, leadership is not necessarily a role. Leadership is a mindset that says, look, I am going to take the initiative to solve a problem. I'm going to be resourceful. If I see an issue over here, if I see a person in need, I'm going to help them. If I see something over here that needs to be fixed, I'm going to fix it. If I see a problem, I'm going to talk to someone about it. And I'm going to do it in a way that I work to build trust with my partners. You know, second, then it just says, you know, we create an environment where people can contribute and rise to the occasion. The most important role in the company, in my opinion, is the store manager. And there are 31,000 of them. It is that store manager that hires 15 to 20 Starbucks partners in that store. That becomes their Starbucks family. They create a culture. They nurture their partners. They support them. They create the environment where we serve customers. So my job is pretty easy. I get up every morning and I work in service of 400,000 Starbucks partners who proudly wear the green apron. And if I do the right thing to support and empower and enable our store managers, I believe in them. They will empower and they will inspire every partner in the company.
That's great. Speaking of inspiring, so you've heard that I teach a class called Marketing for Social Change, and we oftentimes talk about, Starbucks as one of the examples of companies that are doing it right? Not thinking that there's a trade-off between doing good and doing good in the world, right, and doing well as a company. Some of the things that Starbucks has been known for is a commitment to hiring veterans, military spouses, and refugees displaced by war and climate change. How do your values influence those initiatives?
Well, I'd say first of all, it starts with our mission. The mission of Starbucks is grounded in the human experience. It's a mission that says we inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. And in that mission, it really amplifies and is grounded in humanity and the power of one. Everything that we've created started in one store. We serve each customer one at a time, one cup. Every one of those 31,000 stores is a part of a community, a neighborhood. And that mission and the values, I believe, that the pursuit of profit is not in conflict with the pursuit of doing good. In fact, our purpose, our reason for being goes far beyond the pursuit of profit. And much of that is what inspires Starbucks partners to want to be a part of Starbucks. We are all part of something bigger than any one of us. And so we do have a social impact agenda. We do believe in creating opportunity, whether that is opportunity. We're one of the first companies that gave part-time workers with 20 hours or more a week healthcare benefits. We call every Starbucks employee of Starbucks a partner. Why? Because we give them equity in the company. And we work together as a team. We recently added Starbucks part-time partner in the United States, wants to get an undergraduate degree in a partnership with ASU in their online program. We'll pay for them to get an undergraduate. They graduate debt-free. Opportunity. We made a commitment to hire 25,000 veterans and military spouses. We accomplished that goal 3 years ahead of schedule. We're at a run right now. We hire 5,000 veterans and military spouses a year. So in many ways, the pursuit of doing good is woven into the fabric of our culture, it's woven into the fabric of our mission, and it's woven into the fabric of who we are as individuals and as Starbucks partners.
Yeah, sounds like it. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about environmental sustainability. It's a big topic here at USF. We are now carbon neutral. I don't know if you knew that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good for USF, right? So what initiatives are in the works at Starbucks around environmental sustainability?
Well, I'd say when I think about the social impact agenda we have, there's kind of three pillars I think about. Number one is opportunity. We talked a little bit about that. It's opportunity for our partners and the work that we do to reach out to whether it's veterans or opportunity youth to create an on-ramp to a better life. The second is community. Every Starbucks store is a part of a community. We do many things in the community. And the third is environmental sustainability. And you look at, over the last decade, I look at the things that we've done around environmental sustainability. It starts with coffee. We're committed and on a mission to make coffee the first sustainable agricultural product. We're doing that in partnership with Conservation International. We own one coffee farm. We source coffee from over 380,000 different coffee farms. We own one. Why do we own a coffee farm? Answer, that's where we hire world-renowned agronomists that have created hybrid coffee trees that are rust resistant. Coffee rust is one of those significant diseases that with global warming, is spreading and can kill coffee trees. And so farmers that are wiped out by coffee rust, we've created hybrid rust-resistant trees, and we give tens of millions of those seedlings and trees away to coffee farmers every year. We then have farmer support centers around the world where our agronomists work with farmers to teach them how to improve their yield of their crop, how to improve the quality of their coffee. So it starts with coffee. Then we want to serve that coffee in sustainable packaging. You know, a year and a half ago, we launched the Next Gen Cup Challenge, recognizing that one of the things we've got to do is figure out how to invent a cup that is compostable and more easily recyclable. We announced a year ago that we were eliminating plastic straws in all of our stores around the world by 2020. We have a lot of work to do, you know, in that area as well. We then, when we think about the stores we build, I think we're one of the largest builder of LEED certified buildings, you know, environmentally sustainable buildings. And a year ago, we rolled out something called the Greener Apron, where we have partners who learn all the things they can do to operate our stores in a more sustainable way, waste, water, things like that. So we've made, in many ways, a lot of progress over the last decade. But, you know, as a leadership team, we've had a dialogue, and I'm the first to acknowledge there is much more that we can do, and there's much more that we aspire to do. And, you know, one of the things that just recently inspired me around this was not only the response we got when we announced we were eliminating plastic straws, was, you know, shortly after that, our young 5-year-old grandson, Camden, he came running up to me and he said, "Pop," calls me Pop. He said, "Pop," he said, "the Lorax speaks for the trees because the trees have no tongue." He said, "Pop, read me this book." And so
it's a great book.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
And, you know, I must have lived a sheltered life because I'd never read the book before, but I sat there on the couch with young Camden and I read the story. And as I read that story, I thought, this is the story of environmental sustainability today. And after I read the book to him, we played trains on the floor a little bit, and I got up, I thought, I wonder when that book was published. And as I searched, it was published in 1971, the same year that Starbucks was founded. So not only was young Camden speaking to me, so was the green side. Stay tuned.
That's great. So last year, you shut down 8,000 US Starbucks stores for anti-bias training. This was in response to the public outcry over the arrest of 2 African-American men who were waiting for a friend in a Philadelphia store. What did you hope the training would do?
Well, when you look at the situation that happened in Philadelphia that day, you know, we are a company that was founded on creating the third place experience, a place that's not your home, it's not your work, it's a place for people to gather, where we create a warm, welcoming environment for all. And on that day in Philadelphia, we failed. We failed that. And we had to acknowledge and be accountable for the fact that we failed. And so, being accountable for that, my job was to understand how that happened, why that happened, and as a leadership team, decide what are we going to do to hopefully ensure that never happens again. And so, as part of that journey, we decided we're going to begin this journey by closing our stores. And over 150,000 Starbucks partners throughout the United States participated in an anti-bias training. And in that, we had world-renowned experts in this topic help us shape that content so that we could have a shared experience in our stores. Every store partners shared this experience together in that stores, because much of this is a journey of self-discovery and doing it in a safe place with your partners where you can have a very open conversation and start to understand how each of us is wired in a certain way based on our own life experiences and how those life experiences create bias in everyone. And the first step is understanding that and acknowledging that. The second step then is understanding how you can recognize how you're wired and behave in different ways. And so closing our stores and doing that training was the first step of a journey. Since then, we've been rolling out other training modules roughly every 2 months that we call pour-over sessions. We are on a journey and will continue to be on a journey. You can't possibly imagine that you can close stores for 1/2 day and that you're going to address this problem. That was the beginning of our journey. And if I look at where we've come over this last 1.5 years since then, I'd say it's made us a better company. And I would also say that we're not done, and we'll never be done.
Yeah.
This is something we're going to continue to do on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that it wasn't just a one-day thing, that there's going to be some follow-up, and there has been follow-up. That's very encouraging. Did you participate in the training?
Yes, absolutely. The entire leadership team did. I mean, every Starbucks partner in the United States participated in this, and we did it together as a leadership team. And we were out in the field on the day that it happened. So yeah, everyone did.
That's great. What kind of heat did you get for that?
For closing the store?
Yeah, for closing the stores, the anti-bias training. Did you get any criticism?
Well, you know, you get into a topic that has been, you know, race relations in America has been a topic that we've struggled with for hundreds of years. And so certainly there's always people that are going to criticize or judge. What I had to do, what our leadership had to do, is what we felt was right for us and for our Starbucks partners. And you know, one of the things that Howard taught me and shared with me in this transition, he said, Kevin, whenever you make a decision, I want you to imagine 2 empty chairs in front of you. One of those chairs represents our Starbucks partners, and the other chair represents our customers. And when you make a decision, ask yourself the following question: will this decision make our partners and our customers proud? And that's what we did. And so do we get criticized? Yeah, we get criticized, but that's okay. We did what we thought was right, and I felt the support of 400,000 Starbucks partners every step of the way. So.
That's great. So let's talk about the future of Starbucks. What's in store? What's in the store that's in store?
Well, you know, clearly, when we talk about sort of honoring, knowing what to honor and preserve from the past and boldly reimagine the future, you have to step back and you say, hey, what's happening in the world? How do we continue to innovate in a way that stays relevant to our customers? And I would say, if you think about the 2 transformative elements of modern day retail, you know, you see how many brick and mortar retailer stores are closing, you see shopping malls closing, and you have to ask yourself the question, what are the 2 transformative elements of modern day retail? I think there are 2 things. Number 1, you have to create a customer experience in your store so that it becomes a destination. Fortunately, Starbucks has been a destination, continues to be a destination, but...
It is for me.
All right. But we can't take that for granted. We have to constantly work to elevate that experience, enhance that experience, create the environment where that will continue to be a destination for you and every other customer that comes to see us. The second ingredient is, then you have to extend that customer experience to a digital customer relationship. And so if you look at what the whole mobile internet has created, you know, with the mobile devices, it has amplified the need state of convenience in every part of our lives. You can go on your phone, you can find you want to book a flight, you can book an airline flight, pick a seat assignment, check in, get your boarding pass, and go through TSA on your phone. You can order up an Uber to take you from point A to point B. You can order your tall chai latte, whatever your beverage of choice.
With almond milk and 6 pumps of chai.
Personalized, just for you.
Thank you, thank you.
You can pick it up or you can have it delivered. So the need state of convenience is something that we have embraced, but we're working to do it where we don't detract from the need state of community in our stores. Why is that? I believe that the whole mobile internet and these mobile devices, where there's many good things they have done, they are actually contributing to a global epidemic of human loneliness. How many times have you been to a restaurant and you see a family of 4 having dinner together, and all 4 of the family members are sitting there looking at their phone? Guilty?
Yeah.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
Now, what that creates, I think people are spending more time in that mobile device and less time interacting with one another. And so, as I started studying neuroscience and human emotion and how the brain works and how it's connected to emotion and happiness, we get energy from one another by interacting and being together in a room and seeing facial expressions. And it is human connection that helps us deal with adversity and the struggles in our life. It's human connection that allows us to celebrate joy and the successes in life. It's human connection that gives us optimism for the future. And so I believe that the whole mobile internet is contributing to this global epidemic of human loneliness. You look at 1 in 5 Americans are suffering from some form of mental health issues. Sometimes it's just stress and anxiety, sometimes it's depression. Suicide rates are up. And you ask yourself, what's causing this? Why are we becoming such a bifurcated, divisive society when you just think about politics and other topics? I think that the mobile internet and the mobile devices is contributing to that. And so in many ways for us, yes, we're enhancing the experience and extending it to a digital mobile relationship, but creating that warm, welcoming environment for customers to go sit in our stores, be a part of a community, share a coffee or tea, have a personal interaction. In many ways, that is one of the antidotes to loneliness, is human connection. So when you think about the future, we're going to embrace things like mobile ordering, like the digital flywheel software we've created, but at the same time, we are elevating that experience that we create in our customers, the sense of community, the sense of a warm, welcoming environment for people to connect. We create the stage for our partners to practice their craft, to personalize that beverage for each and every customer exactly the way you want it. To know your name. When you walk in your home store, they know your name. Hopefully they know your beverage. They know about your family. It's a place for connection. It's a place for relationship. It's a place for humanity. And I think the world needs a bit more of that these days.
That's a great vision. Yeah, as you were talking about sort of creating opportunities for connection, I was thinking about the new Starbucks that opened up in my neighborhood, and it's huge. It's a really nice size. So there's lots of seats and tables. However, there aren't the little outlets, by the tables, right? And this isn't a brand new Starbucks, and I was wondering, where are the outlets? They have the outlets at sort of the bar. Is this by design? Is this the Starbucks people? You know about this, right? The bar has the
I got 31,000 stores, so tell me the store and I'll help you figure out what we're doing.
But there aren't outlets at the tables. And as they mentioned, this is my second or third office. This is where I hang out, okay? So I'm very aware of these things. So I'm wondering, was that intentional so people don't stay there on their laptops and, they're not connecting?
Look, every store we design is a snowflake. We have a store development team with designers. They design every store unique to that space. So, there's not some cookie cutter master plan on these things. And it may be that they said, hey, in this part of the store, we want to create an opportunity for some, flow change of customers. And if others need to plug in and charge, maybe we put those up there. But we've got great store designers, and they're designing and opening a new store every 4 hours, and every one of them's different. So.
Well, it definitely makes me get up out of my seat when my charge is gone. I'm just saying.
Feedback noted.
So, and I do have another idea.
Okay.
And so, and feel free to take this. I won't take credit for it, but all these people heard me. So the idea is maybe we can reserve seating at Starbucks. And that way I can continue to work on my projects as I go to the restroom and take a bio break and come back. My table is still there.
Our team in Tokyo is actually launching a little pilot on that. Reserve your seat at Starbucks.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens. in
Okay,
Tokyo.
let me
You
know.
never know.
Keep me updated.
And we will.
I really need to know this.
If you need a table in Tokyo, I can get you the Tokyo.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. So let's talk about the big picture.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about, the climate that we're in and that kind of thing. As a corporate leader, a parent, a spouse, a citizen, what's your take on our current political climate? Can you comment on that?
Well, other than to acknowledge, I think, we're in, it feels like a fairly divisive climate, and that's unfortunate. I think that, putting citizenship over partisanship and finding ways to unite the country, I think is going to require some work. And I actually think there's a lot that can happen in private sector in partnership with public sector to help tackle some of the social issues that we have. You mentioned things around, whether it's homelessness or drug abuse or, mental health. There's a lot of things that we can do in communities. Just as one example, in the city of Seattle, the city council had Barbara Poppy, who was the homeless czar for President Obama, came and did a study in Seattle, and she figured out that there were 600 families with young children sleeping outdoors. Roughly 1,800 people in these families sleeping outdoors, young children, in cars and tents outdoors. And when we heard that, we decided, we don't want to allow that to happen in our city. And so we got involved in partnership with the city and King County and got other business leaders involved, and we raised money. We raised over $4 million in partnership with a nonprofit called Mary's Place around a concept that said no child sleeps outside. And we're now in the 4th year of that, and over those 4 years, every year, we've raised enough money, built enough transitional housing and shelter. We not only bring these families indoors, we provide them navigational services, and we help them get to the point where they get their own place to live. And as I was working at Mary's Place, the thing that really inspired me is when a family gets to the point where they then get their apartment or get their place to live, they take a photograph of the family holding their key. Every photograph at Mary's Place of that family holding their key is posted on the key wall. And so as I stood there and saw every one of these families that had gotten their key, and I had a chance to meet and learn about the families that were in Mary's Place working to achieve that goal. It's an example of how I think public-private partnership can come together around something that can unite us. Let's work together to at least make sure there's no child sleeping outside. And so my hope is that we see more of that, and that we see more openness and dialogue around solving some of the challenges in communities that we know is real. And by doing that and working to in the pursuit of doing good, I think we're capable of doing much more.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. So we actually have some student questions for you. Can we cue those up?
Hi, Mr. Johnson. My name is Julia Hall. I'm a sophomore studying nursing. Through Starbucks' evolution from a local Seattle coffee house to a renowned global chain, do you believe its methods of growing, gathering, harvesting, and producing coffee still retain ethical, environmental elements? Thank you.
That's a great question, Julia. Thank you. One of the things that Starbucks did 2 decades ago was create something called Cafe Practices. And Cafe Practices stands for Coffee and Farmer Equity. And the intent behind Cafe Practices was to ensure that we knew when we were sourcing coffee from a particular coffee farm that they were embracing ethical standards, environmental standards, and that we could help those coffee farmers, improve the yield and the quality of their coffee, and transparency of economics. So when we made a payment, we have transparency that that money went to that coffee farmer. We did this in partnership with Conservation International. Conservation International audits every farm that is CAFE standard approved. So when we source coffee from our CAFE standards, we pay a premium for that coffee. We pay a premium because they adhere to a set of ethical standards, environmental standards, and they grow premium Arabica coffee. And we pay a premium above the C price, 20 to 30% typically in any given year. In fact, this year in many countries, even with that premium, there were some countries where the cost of growing coffee was still higher than the C price and that premium. And we went around and made a second payment. So today, roughly 99% of all coffee that we source is ethically sourced through CAFE practices. Now you might ask, why not 100%? What's that 1%? And the answer is that 1% are the new coffee farms that we're bringing into the program, and that we're giving them the opportunity to have the on-ramp to demonstrate and go through the audit. And so that is a model that we adopted decades ago, and it has served us well. We continue to invest in that. And that's what gives me great confidence that when we source coffee, we're sourcing it in an ethical way, and we take care of coffee farmers that grow the Starbucks coffee.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
All right. Can we get the next question?
Hi, Mr. Johnson. I'm Dong Yangchen, and I'm an international student from China studying entrepreneurship and innovation at the USF School of Management. My question for you is, since China is one of Starbucks' largest markets, how will your company maintain its advantages as it confronts competitors like Luckin Coffee?
Great question. We've always had lots of competitors. The addressable market for coffee on a global basis is large and it is growing. And whenever you have a large and growing addressable market, you're going to have a lot of competitors that are going to enter the market. And as he points out, Luckin Coffee is one of those competitors in China. And so the question is, how do you maintain that competitive advantage? And the answer is, we stay true to those things that we believe differentiate us and that we do very well. And it starts in many ways with the quality of our coffee. We source all of our own coffee from over 380,000 coffee farms around the world. We roast that coffee to what are called roast curves that have been developed over 49 years and are proprietary. That's how we create that consistent flavor. We then serve that coffee in our stores, creating a warm, welcoming environment, allowing our partners to practice their craft, personalizing each and every beverage for our customers. We've now extended that experience in our stores to a digital customer relationship. And if you look at over time, that has allowed us to continue to differentiate the experience and allowed us to endure a wide range of competitors. And I'll say, look, being in the business of coffee, it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like one competitor is going to take all the business. In fact, he mentions China. China is primarily a tea-drinking culture. So in many ways, we have other companies coming in to sell coffee. We're just accelerating the adoption of coffee in China, which is good for the industry. And what is good for the industry is good for Starbucks.
Yeah, absolutely. You're reinforcing exactly what I tell my students all the time is stick with what you're good at, right?
Well,
yeah.
and that's how sometimes a company can lose their way. If you're not clear about those things, what is the brand promise? What do we stand for? And a competitor will come in with some different approach, and if you say, oh, well, let's chase this or let's chase that, you lose your way.
Right.
Stay focused on what you do and do it very, very well.
Stay focused. Great. All right, let's cue the next student question.
Good evening, Mr. Johnson. It's great to have you here at USF. I'm Rachel Chen, and I'm a graduate student in computer science. Starbucks is known as one of the best companies for LGBTQ individuals to work for. Will Starbucks' support of this community continue to expand under your current leadership? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. You know, certainly the support for this community is one of those things that we will always honor and preserve from the past and continue to expand. So, you know, I'm very proud of the inclusive environment that we've created and how that the pride that Starbucks partners have for wearing the green apron, and much of that pride is the way we treat one another. And this is a very, LGBTQ is a very important community for us, and we're very proud of that. We're proud of those partners.
That's great. Good to hear. Cue the next question.
Hi, Mr. Johnson. I'm Nora Ward. I'm a junior communications major, and my question is, what's one piece of advice, academic or personal, you would give your 20-year-old self? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I was reflecting on you know, on that a bit, because I was asked the same question, I think, by the New York Times a year ago or so in an interview they did with me, and the answer I gave then is the answer I'm going to give tonight. And the advice I would give a 20-year-old version of myself is learn to be authentic. And being authentic requires a journey of self-discovery that gives one the confidence to be vulnerable. And I think for most of my life, I worked in a way where I cared so much about how I was perceived that perhaps I would mask the true, authentic me. And the fear of showing vulnerability because someone might think you're weak or you're not going to be accepted. And it wasn't perhaps until, you know, maybe it was the last 10 to 15 years that I've learned much more about what it means to be authentic. And I've learned a lot about that from my Starbucks partners. And I'll just share a story to give you an example. The first year as chief operating officer, I travel around the world and I do store visits. And after doing them for a year, I decided they're very orchestrated. I wasn't getting what I needed out of them. It would be, the car would drive up, I'd get out of the car, there'd be the store manager, the district manager, they'd introduce themselves to me, we'd go in the store, I'd meet the partners, they'd take me through what they're doing in the store, in the community, I'd go behind the bar, I'd take a photo with the partners, I'd get back in the car, go to the next store. I said, I don't want to do that anymore. So when I go to a store, I want to have 90 minutes and I want to do a round table with Starbucks partners, 6 partners, 8 partners and me. And I would ask them to share your life journey with me. What brought you to Starbucks? What are your aspirations? What does Starbucks mean to you? And I would share my life journey with them. And in those discussions, I learned a lot more about what it means to be authentic. For example, 4 years ago, South Chicago, very difficult neighborhood. Starbucks partner sitting directly across the table from me. She said, Kevin, I've only been a Starbucks partner for 4 years. She said, but 3 years ago, I received a phone call that my youngest child had been tragically killed in an accident. A tear started rolling down her cheek. Starbucks partner sitting next to her put her arm around her and handed her a tissue. The woman went on. She said, Kevin, these partners surrounded me with love. She said they raised money and the Starbucks Cup Fund kicked in so that I could give my child a proper burial. These partners helped me through the most difficult period of my life, Kevin, and I love them. This is my Starbucks family. That's authenticity. That's vulnerability. It was in an open forum, partner open forum in Washington, D.C., 500 Starbucks partners in a ballroom. In an open forum, you can stand up, you can take the mic, you can share a story, you can ask a question, you can give feedback. It's an open forum. A young black man stands up and he takes the microphone. He says, Kevin, My name is Colin. He said, I've only been a Starbucks partner for 9 months. 12 months ago, I was homeless on the streets of Baltimore. My brother had just been murdered. I had no family, no place to go, no purpose in my life. But this Starbucks store manager reached out to me and took a bet on me, gave me a job. Today, 9 months later, I proudly wear the green apron. I've earned enough money to afford my own apartment, and I now have a purpose in my life. And he said, I just want to say thank you. That's vulnerability. So the advice I give my younger self is learn to share your own vulnerabilities. It's the most powerful of all human connectors because we all have had one thing in common. Every person on this planet shares one thing in common, the human experience. We've all felt sorrow and joy. We've all had to overcome the struggle. And it doesn't matter what language you speak, what continent you grew up on, what religion you practice, what color your skin is. We all share the human experience. And when you get to that level of vulnerability around the human experience, it is the common denominator in every single one of us. And the sooner you learn that in your life, it is liberating. Because no longer do you have to pretend to be someone you're not or that you have to try to fit in. You can be comfortable and have the courage to be who you are, and you will quickly discover it is the fastest way and the most powerful way to connect with other human beings. That's the advice I would give a 20-year-old version of myself.
Now, I have to tell you, Kevin, that's what we do here at USF. We encourage people to look within and reflect.
Well, that is why this is a very special university. I mean, you know, when Michael was here, the diversity of life experiences, the diversity of cultures that students come from, and creating that inclusive environment where there is a trust-based way to share vulnerability and to learn from one another. You know, the diversity at USF is, in my opinion, one of the most impressive things, and I think it's one of the most important things to learn at a young age. It is a lesson that will serve you well for the rest of your life, and it is a lesson that more people in this world, if they could have the opportunity to learn that, it would be a better world.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you got to know USF, sounds like, through the eyes of your son.
I did.
Son Michael, right over there. So this is kind of going a little further. What advice would you have for our current students to change the world from here? Because that's what we do here. We change the world from here.
Well, I was in a round table this afternoon with some students. And one of the questions that was asked is, you know, what advice I had for them as they thought about their ability to have impact in this world and what they aspired to do. And as I thought about it, I said it's three things. And all I can speak to is from my experience. In my experience, these were three things that I think helped me and guided me throughout my career. The first is, whatever role I was in, I put my energy into it. The more energy and passion and creativity you put into the role you're in, the more you get in return. And so I didn't sit around thinking about, oh, I want that role or this is a path to that. I just put my energy into what I was doing, and you get the most out of it. The second thing then was pushing outside the comfort zone. To be a lifelong learner, you have to constantly push outside the comfort zone. And, you know, by definition, it's uncomfortable. But that's how you learn. So if you're passionate and putting energy into what you do and you push outside the comfort zone, you're going to be a lifelong learner. And the third, and maybe the most important of those three, is always treat others with respect. Build relationships that are based on trust. And remember, trust is earned. It's earned in the human experience. It's how you treat people. It's how you help them. When they're down and you step up and help them, they will trust you. And when you're down, they will step up and help you. So the 3 things to have impact that you can do from here: put your energy, be present in what you're doing today and enjoy it and get the most out of it. Don't be afraid to push outside your comfort zone. And remember, investing in those personal relationships is very, very important.
Good advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been so inspiring. I really appreciate you coming here to speak to us. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming back to the stage President of the University of San Francisco, Father Fitzgerald.
Yeah, stay comfortable.
Thank you, Kevin. That was amazing. Let me take just 2 or 3 minutes to reflect a bit. So St. Ignatius of Loyola, who founded the Jesuits and these 200 universities around the world, as a young person, he would go outside and lie on his back and stare at the stars. And I love that image of you, this 8, 9-year-old boy, looking up the moon and not just reveling in this moment, but dreaming, daring to dream. And that's what we really want our students to have, that same deep desire to dream great dreams, and then to discern their vocation. Because, we get one wild life, and we get to spend it then, making a huge difference in the world. And you model that for us so well this evening. You as a college student, seeking out not only what you're passionate about, but then finding the perfect life partner. And so it is, it's drive, but it's also surrounding ourselves with people who love us and share our values, and so living in community and for community. I think it's in Matthew's gospel, the wise steward who goes into the storeroom and brings out treasures both old and new. And that's what you talk about with Starbucks, how to hold on to the traditions, how to hold on to the values, and then how to innovate and go forward. And we teach that at USF, but we live that here at USF. In the last 5, 6 years, we've canceled 16 different academic programs and launched 9 more. So it's like, how do we continue to respond to the needs and the desires of our students? I love your 3 T's of trust, transparency, and teamwork for making for a very dynamic team to lead a project which has a great mission. And to have a great mission, then that allows you to kind of draw on the very best strengths of the folks that want to share in that mission, which is grounded in the human experience, and that's what we do here. Education, we like to say we're here to bridge the largest gap ever measured by human science, the 14 inches between the head and the heart. And I hear that in so much of what you talk about with your company, which we call conscious capitalism. And we teach our students that, or corporate social responsibility, where you can do well by doing good and not maximizing your profit, but maximizing the good that your company does in the world, which will mean long-term stable profitability. But ethical business is always long-term profitable. So thank you so much for sharing. For the folks here, so USF Green is Starbucks Green, and we are really grateful for that homage. If you ever are out with friends and you say, like, I want to buy a shirt that's like USF Green, just stop at a Starbucks first, get a coffee, and then go to a store. So a big word of thanks to Kevin Johnson for bringing 1,000 pounds of Starbucks coffee, which is our parting gift to you. Please pick one up on your way out. Tonight's event kicks off several days. Actually, so we're in a comprehensive campaign. We put the background here just to have a subliminal message. But this event this evening kicks off several days of celebration. We're going into the public phase of our comprehensive campaign, changing the world from here. So in the next days, USF will showcase the the university's distinctive mission and identity, starting with the celebration of student academic accomplishments. So we've got a number of students who are going to stand by their posters and talk about their extracurricular activities starting Friday at noon. And just as Starbucks is innovating for a better future, so too USF is reinventing Jesuit education in the heart of the city that's inventing tomorrow. So come to the events this weekend, join us, and I now invite Michael back on stage for this last important announcement of our winners.
Thank you, Father Fitzgerald and Dr. Poole, for this evening. It's been wonderful. Let's have a round of applause for tonight's guest, Kevin Johnson. Thank you, Dad. Hold tight. This is the last moment of the program this evening, and I have some winners to announce. In advance, I am going to do justice to your name, but if I don't, I welcome the opportunity to meet you, and you can school me on how to accurately pronounce it. So let's see. If your name is read, head to the lobby, look for the USF Don, who will have your tickets. And the first winner is Linda Crow. Number 2 is the Honorable Quan Jarrett Wong. Number 3 is Talia Serafidin. And our final winner for the drawing is Zach Clarke. Thank you all for coming tonight. The Silk Speaker Series at USF will be back again on Tuesday, October 29th, featuring Charles Schwab. I wish you all very well. Thank you for attending, and have a wonderful evening.